What we need to do is, if we have already done our machine sewing here, that's great. If not, then that's fine. What we're going to do is on the other side of our felt piece here, we're going to do a regular running stitch. Now, how do you do a running stitch? Well, let's find out here. So, first of all, what you need is everything that's on the table here. So you need your piece of fabric, you need a hand sewing needle, there's different types of them. We're going to try to use one that has a little bit of a bigger opening for our thread, so it makes it a little bit easier for you folks who may have never sewn before. And then you just need any sort of spool of thread. Not the bobbin, which is the little guy. We need the full spool, all right? And you only need an arm's length. So what you can do is go to the back where the red bins are, and it's labeled thread, and you can find one of these, and you're going to take an arm's length worth of thread. And how you do that, grab the end of it, very carefully unroll it. Okay, I'm going to cut my own here. All right, so we have an arm's length worth of thread here, all right, and that's plenty. So what we're going to do, if you've never threaded a needle before, what I suggest you do is grab the thread, one end of the thread, and you just pinch it so that there's only a tiny bit between your fingertips there. The rest of it's hanging down. Okay. Next thing you need to do is make sure you have your needle. And what I suggest you do is you turn it, you can see the eye, and very carefully you're going to poke it through and slide it through. Okay, so we have our needle here and we have our thread through. Now, what I'd like you folks to do is once you've threaded your needle, you want to make sure that the needle is sitting in the exact middle of the length of the thread. And why? We want to double this up so it's nice and strong. So what we want to do is make sure that it's right in the middle. You can pull it, right? And there's the ends there. And we're going to do a special type of knot to make sure that not only is it nice and strong, but the needle doesn't fall off, right? We never, ever, ever tie a knot on the needle, okay? Never. Don't do it because it's a pain to cut off and you'll end up actually ripping your felt, and we don't want to do that, okay? So what you need to do this knot is, in one hand, make sure that you leave a tail, okay? The other hand, you're going to grab the end, and you're going to very carefully wrap the thread around that finger, just gently. You're not going to pull it tight, okay? And then what you're going to do is actually spin it off your fingers, okay? Pinch it, and you're going to pull, okay? It's kind of a little bit hard to show, but you can see. Okay, I can pull it and I've made a little knot there. It kind of looks like just a little bump and a loop there. So I have a nice strong knot, and I can test it that I've done it properly by pulling on the string itself, okay? So there we go, it's set. And the loop's gone there because I've pulled it nice and tight, okay? So you should end up with a little knot kind of like this. Now if you do the traditional, pretzel knot, it's going to be too small, so you have to do it this way, all right? Got to learn it. So once you have your knot and we have our piece of fabric, we are going to start our running stitch. Now, this is our good side of the fabric. We can tell it's the good side because there's no loose threads really hanging around except for this little guy right here, and that can be trimmed. So we're going to keep this as our good side for now, and we're going to keep our knots on this side of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is start up at the top. I'm going to pierce through like this, kind of like the same spaces as this side here. And I'm going to pull it through until I hit that knot, and I'm not going to pull any further because otherwise it will rip our fabric, and that's not what we want. So we're going to start our running stitch. Okay, so what we'll do is we want a straight line to about here. We try our best. If it's not perfectly straight, it's fine, but we want it as neat and tidy as possible. Okay, we're aiming for straight lines. So what we want to do is we're going to pierce through about, we'll say, close to 1/2 centimeter away, and we're going to poke it through, but not pull it yet. We're going to fold it over so that you can see the needle's gone through okay, through the back and through here, and then we're going to pull. Okay, so we've made our first running stitch. Now, we need to continue. Need to keep going. This is the easy way of doing it. Sometimes it's a little hard to make it straight this way, but it's nice and easy because you never get lost where the thread's supposed to go. So we're going to always sew this way when we're doing our running stitch. Okay, so once again, we're going to poke it through and try to make it about even and pull it through. Okay, not too hard, otherwise if I pull too hard, look at what happens. It buckles up, right? And we don't want it to buckle up, we want to keep it smooth. I finished my running stitch and I've just pulled my thread through from here to here. What am I going to do? So if I cut it right now, this thread will just fall out. If I pull on it, it's just going to fall out, and we don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is do a basic knot, okay? There's going to be a couple different types of knots that you're going to learn, but this is the one that I want you to use for the running stitch. So the first thing you do is you're going to poke your needle back in the same area as where you threaded through, okay? Same area, and you're going to pull it through like this until there is a little loop like that. Now, you got to stop, okay? You got to stop because if you pull, it's going to pull all the way through and you're going to lose that loop. We need that loop. So, once again, after that, we're going to thread it through the same spot, the exact same spot, and we're going to make sure when we thread it through, the needle is going through this loop here. It has to go through that loop. So, we're going to thread it through that loop just like that. We're going to pull, okay, pull a few times. Now, double check when you have pulled it that you haven't gone and caused any problems with your running stitch. We want it to be, the fabric to be smooth and not lumpy, okay? So make sure it's nice and smooth. Okay, and after I've gone and pulled this, and it's gone and you can't even barely see the knot, okay? It is knotted and that thread will not come out now. So what we need to do is take some scissors. We're gonna snip that away there. Okay, as close as you can, but don't actually cut the knot, right? As close as you can, that's fine. And then we're going to go back to the start and we're going to cut off the tail that we had from the very beginning. Okay, so that is your basic running stitch. You're going to be using this on your teddy bear, so you need to know how to do this properly, as well as the knots. So you need to remember how to do the knots because we're going to be using them a whole lot. All right, so the next step we need to learn is how to use embroidery thread and how to do a blanket stitch.